Thank you guys for tuning in to another segment of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, I want to discuss Colby Covington. I want to discuss, did Colby Covington go a little too far? Obviously, we know what took place this past weekend. Colby Covington was dominated for the most majority of the fight against Leon Edwards, but the comments he made beforehand about Leon Edwards' father and seeing him in hell and all this kind of stuff like that. I understand most of Colby Covington as a character. I get it, right? There's a part of you that has to sell fights. There's a part of you that has to um, be marketable, I guess. And he definitely plays the bad boy, if you will, the UFC. He definitely is the guy that likes to push his own agenda, if you will. But at what point is too much too much? It's very reminiscent of when Conor McGregor was throwing insults at Khabib Nurmagomedov's way, insinuating, that his manager was a terrorist, insinuating that his wife was a wet towel and all this kind of stuff like that he said. At what point is too much too much? I understand it's the fight game. I understand it is the fight game. And you're gonna say certain things, but like the things could have got out of hand really, really fast, if you ask me. And I understand Dana White says, guys say nasty stuff to each other all the time. He's right. He's 100% right. Guys will say things all the time to one another. But we're talking about a situation in which, luckily, it was a water bottle Leon Edwards threw at him and not a
Yeah.
microphone or something like that. That would have absolutely damaged the entire main event. Dana, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that Colby Covington went too far? And do you think the UFC should sort of have some type of, I don't know, system regulation in place or finding in place of saying certain things to fighters? If fighters were to say certain things or do stupid stuff that could endanger a main event, because when UFC puts on main events, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts?
So this is twofold. The first part is Colby Covington is not a good human being. And that's what I believe. And that's because of his what he's voicing, right? Because of his actions. I think, yes, he did go too far being a human being. That's something you don't say to another person. You don't say that about somebody's family, right? And if you're talking about somebody's family, you better be ready for repercussions. On the other side of it, though, did he go too far in the fight game? I mean, numbers don't lie. And what I'm saying is, it is the fight game, and I can't speak from experience, right? I understand that they're going into it with a fight, but like you said, Conor McGregor, Habib, there's been so many instances of building up the fight game. And me personally, as a fan of the sport, as a fan of conflict, that brought a whole nother level to it. I understand there are fans of MMA who say, regardless, that's a fight we're excited to see. Seeing that emotion out of Leon Edwards, seeing that built up the fight more, and it showed in the numbers, right? Dana White said as soon as that happened, you saw a huge spike in the numbers. So, from the pure entertainment standpoint, from a human standpoint, he went too far. And that's something Leon Edwards, you never want to see another person like that. I understand that. So, yes, he went too far. Colby Covington is a terrible human being for saying that. Should there be regulations on that? I don't think so. I don't think there should be a rule of saying you can't say something about another person. And at the end of the day, you're going in there to punch another person in the face. You're going in there to elbow another person. You saw Bryce Mitchell laying lifeless, shaking. So for me, saying, okay, there should be regulation on something you should say, I don't personally think so if I'm able to see somebody laying lifeless, if that's the sport. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my opinion. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree. I just know that there's a large, a large amount of people you see that sort of want the UFC to kind of crack down on things like this. I understand fighting is not friendly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be peaches and roses and all that kind of stuff on a regular basis. However, I do think that um, I do think there's a human element to it. I think
Yep.
sometimes when we talk about things where, that's where my mind goes at points in time. But I agree with you. I think that you really can't. There's no way to police what a fighter is going to say. If a fighter wants to be the villain, like Colby Covington likes to play the role
Yep.
of the villain, then then so be it. I also don't think Colby Covington is a bad person. I genuinely don't. I think he is willing to do anything in his power to stay
Have
with the
success.
UFC, to keep his name alive, to get people talking about him, to do what we're doing right now. I think he's that kind of person because he's been that kind of guy that was boring, that didn't say anything, and it took him going into Brazil where he, did that in complete crazy rant where he talked about how Brazil was a dump and all this kind of stuff like that, for him to really lean into that character. He realizes negativity sells,
Yep.
unfortunately. And I think that's the part of this business where I think when you look at a guy like Bilal Muhammad, who is right there clawing to be the next contender for the welterweight championship, I think that's where he draws the why he's not really talked about more in
Yep.
the light of a championship contention because he's not really marketable because he's not entertaining. He's very much like, oh, I'll go out there, lay and pray. Maybe I'll finish a guy if I'm fighting a guy like Sean Brady, but for the most part, gonna be very safe, gonna be very, very careful with the chances that I do take inside the octagon. And I just think that Colby Covington has been that guy. And I think at this point it's I think that I think it's definitely more of a character that he's playing.
Last question for you. At what point, and this is, I've seen the same thing. I've seen Colby off the camera is a great person. I've seen the Nelk Boys. I watched a video with him training. Colby, I was like, if I didn't know anything about Colby, I was like, Colby is somebody who's pushing other people to be great. At what point does what you say make you a bad person? And that's just for me, because I'm like, I see him being a great person here, but then he's being such a terrible person. So it's like, at what point does what you say become
I think separating the fighter from the human is important.
yeah.
Um, I definitely think people say crazy stuff throughout the fight week, and but who are we to say how much he donates his money to,
Yeah.
different causes and does things within his community? Who are we to say that? I can't speak to that. I can't say that because who are we to judge and say that he's a good person or bad person? Who am I to just say that he's a good person, bad person? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that for me, like I definitely think the role that he plays, it portrays him as the villain, it portrays him as the bad guy, but I also think he understands that's what's got him to this point. That's what's gotten
Yeah.
him 3 title defenses, you know,
And a lot of money.
and a lot of money, at this
Yeah.
point in time. And he found I don't know if Colby will get another shot at the welterweight championship. I don't see that anymore because I just think that the way he looked on UFC time 296 was a lasting image where he just looked old, he looked slow, he looked out of the game. And for a guy that's not active, um, it's just very hard to see him back in a championship title picture, especially when you got guys like Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Gary, and all these different people coming up in the ranks. So let us know down in the comment section what you guys think. Did Colby Covington go too far? Do you guys like when fighters go back and forth and sort of have this type of backlash? Very curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are. If you like more video content like this, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the First Star Logistics studio.